watching. Lovely day for a drive.
The Forza series continues to break new ground with its big-budget offerings. Horizon's open world has always been its major appeal. In 5, the vast Mexican land is yours for the taking. Not only is it home to gorgeous landscapes and historical ruins, it's also home to a breadth of online racing content that encourages you to play with friends on its massive map. In this miniature world, there's a big adventure waiting for you and your little kins. Tinykin rekindles that childlike wonder. With its variety of challenging puzzles and unique world, it feels like you're back to playing with your toys. It's a polished and addictive game that's meant to be enjoyed casually.
Please make yourself comfortable.
An Escape the Room VR game that makes good use of your brain power, this sequel is a major upgrade from its original with more challenges to its elaborate puzzles. Expect a lot of dying and trial and error.
Always bring your cassette player when adventuring.
Another entry for the monster collecting PC genre that's been gaining a lot of traction, Cassette Beasts is a vibrant RPG akin to the heydays of Pokemon. You collect adorable monsters, each with their own retro flair, and use them to battle against other Cassette Beasts. This simple back and forth is a welcome treat for those who just want to scratch that Pokemon or Pal World itch. A delightful game designed for 2 people, It Takes Two's inventive levels make co-op with a friend or a lover memorable. Its healthy balance of game mechanics incentivizes both players to team up in ways that no game couldn't. 1 minute you're arguing about what to do, the next you're blasting a swarm of wasps. Isaac Clarke's story inside the derelict USG Ishimura is a timeless horror masterpiece made even better with this 2023 remake. This version of Dead Space retains the seemingly hopeless eldritch dread, including the malformed necromorphs. As a result, moving around in its claustrophobic hallways is much more tense with its impressive lighting and randomly generated jump scares. We don't always get fresh survival horror IPs, and SIGNALIS takes the opportunity to make a name for itself. Taking place in a dystopian future, uncover an unsettling mystery plaguing this off-world colony. Like the old Resident Evil and Silent Hill, its awkward camera angles build tension as you scour through its dark sci-fi world. The former devs behind Inside and Limbo team up to create this alien puzzle game. COCOON is a vibrant adventure in a world unfamiliar to our own. The game's way of introducing mechanics is a creative way of immersing you in its surreal dimension. Once the gameplay clicks, your space beetle will be diving from one space to another. A witty murder mystery set in the backdrop of 16th century Europe, roleplay as an inquisitive illustrator in search of answers in its small and religious town. Its well-written dialogue and mesmerizing medieval art style is a combination made possible by Obsidian's creative talent.
Did you ever get the feeling some of these statues are watching us?
The game best played blind, The Forgotten City is one of those games that you just can't Google search, otherwise you'd get spoiled. Similar to The Outer Wilds or Return to the Obra Dinn, this game requires you to put your thinking cap on and solve a lingering mystery in its ancient medieval setting.
Salve, friend. I'm Galerius.
Shredder's Revenge is a must-play if you enjoy brawlers. What makes it even better is if you have friends to play it with. Its local and online co-op lets you team up with 5 others to take down Shredder's goons. Each of its 7 playable characters offers their own unique moveset to battle. It's a fun, casual romp reminiscent of the arcade era. A Metroidvania game following the same beats as familiar titles like Hollow Knight, but its impeccable art style and haunting atmosphere show that new IPs can still improve on a well-known formula. The journey throughout this grim and gothic world can get tough, especially for the newbies. But that's just one of the quirks of the genre, and it's up to you if you're up for the challenge. Helldivers 2's popularity spiked new interest in co-op shooters. It seems like shooting alien bugs in the name of freedom is everyone's type these days. Deep Rock Galactic's 4-player co-op takes you to infested mines in search of resources. With the power of rock and stone, there's an endless amount of content to play, as well as a mountain of rewards for thrill seekers. A game about managing a broadcast channel. You might think it sounds simple, but once you're on air, it's an overwhelming challenge. That doesn't mean it's bad. Not for Broadcast is how you balance screen and ad time in its live-action videos. This puzzle is the game's best mechanic, and it forces you to look for different solutions.
Check this out.
One of the surprise hits of last year, Hi-Fi Rush feels like a callback to the glory days of the PlayStation 2 era when everything didn't have to be a big budget action game. Chai's character action adventure is injected with a rhythm twist. Not only are you moving, but you're also grooving to the game's music. Together, it's a stylish hack and slash with endearing characters and a simple short story.
Did you just feel that? That beat?
This is designed for those meticulous and hardcore football fans. Like always, your role is to keep your team afloat by observing a variety of charts and bumping up stat numbers. Assessing your team's strengths or crafting game strategies are staples in this year's Football Manager. 8 characters, 1 grand adventure. This sequel is a major step up from its original with more attention added to its writing. The dynamic dialogue between multiple characters immerses you in its compelling narrative. Not only that, the game's improved turn-based combat makes encounters faster and the grind less frustrating for newer players.
Coming through.
Insomniac debuts their web-slinging PlayStation exclusive to the PC. Now, Peter Parker's open-world adventure is possible with a mouse and keyboard. This remaster is pretty much the same as its PS5 version. This includes all the DLCs and graphical improvements, but what sets it apart from others is the variety of graphical tweaks for PC players to tinker with. An adorable and cozy adventure game that's all about saving the environment. Embark on a collectathon on this idyllic Mediterranean island and document as many flora and fauna as you can. It's a game that respects your time, so there's no rush. Even its handcrafted visuals adds to its wholesome and chill charm. A puzzle game where language is an obstacle. Uncover the mystery laid out in this mysterious world where you have no idea what they're talking about. It's an ingenious way of handling language barriers in a video game. Translating words and letters requires context, and the satisfying victory of putting 2 and 2 together is easily the game's best moments. A game about a witch dealing with her own personal issues in an astral world. Designing tarot cards and reflecting on life can be a very personal experience. Its gameplay loop may seem odd at first, but that's essentially what makes the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood great. It tries to elevate a character's troubled life by adding magic and mysticism into its narrative. Lead your own band of worshippers in this irreverent take on cults. There's nothing to take seriously in Cult of the Lamb apart from its challenging gameplay. It's a lighthearted roguelike about managing your followers and appeasing demonic overlords. The joy comes from its endless value. The many DLCs that came after add more content to your cult's future.
This place might be meant to test us, but perhaps there's more to it than that.
The sequel to this thought-provoking and philosophical puzzle game from Crow Team, the Talos Principle 2 continues to ask burning questions about the meaning of life, all while overwhelming you with tricky puzzles. After disappearing for a decade and a half, Double Fine's adventure game is back on the map. The result is a satisfying trip into shape-shifting worlds and an engaging story centered around mental health. The sequel doesn't hold back with the otherworldly presentation of its level design. You're in for a feast for the senses.
It is written.
Doomguy's return back in 2020 came with a bang. Eternal is a major improvement in the classic demon-slaying shooter. Now with more weapons to choose from, tearing monsters apart and rocking out to Mick Gordon's music is like breathing. The most celebrated Formula 1 racing game out there, Codemasters' dedication to their craft culminated in this impressive celebration of Formula 1 racing. Apart from its improved visuals and customization, the added quality of life improvements make the game a more forgiving experience. Now you can enjoy it with friends regardless of your skill level. A gorgeous indie game from Indonesian developers Mojikan, A Space for the Unbound is a charming adventure with detailed pixel graphics. It offers a completely fresh perspective on Indonesian culture despite its fantasy elements. It feels like a Studio Ghibli classic with a sci-fi twist. The sequel to Hoppu Games' challenging roguelike puts more oomph on its third-person shooting action, making it even harder than the original. Surviving an alien planet with nothing but luck on your side is the game's most addicting mechanic, and it's at its most fascinating when you're doing it all over again in a higher difficulty. Its giant leap of visual style from 2D to 3D deserves praise as well, amping up the immersion of its vibrant alien biomes. A boomer shooter in the same vein as the old-school Doom and Wolfenstein, CULTIC puts you against waves and waves of deranged cultists and ravaging demons. Thankfully, you're bringing a shotgun to a wand-waving party. It's a great homage to the classic shooter genre, considering it just came out 2 years ago.
Get ready for the next battle.
The latest fighting game in the market, Tekken 8's redesigned roster and improved gameplay welcomes new and old fans to the series. Its new heat system is a fantastic addition that encourages aggressiveness and opens more possibilities for comeback plays. With so much content packed into it, Tekken 8 is the best fighting game this year, and it's only gonna get better in the months to come. This addictive roguelike popularized the bullet heaven genre. Vampire Survivors is not a game where you're trapped in a room with monsters, they're trapped in here with you. Once you've dropped yourself into Vampire Survivors Arena, you get lost in the dopamine rush at turning your character into a final boss.
Welcome to RUBICON, mercenary.
From Software's mecha game has resurfaced after a decade behind the shelf. The fires of RUBICON sparked a new wave of players interested in its complex systems and fast-paced combat. This new Armored Core is much more accessible for new players, but old players can still revel in its moment-to-moment action with its impressive display of boss fights and decent PvP content.
There's no other way out. Yeah, let's do this.
The Yakuza game to end all Yakuza games. The latest Like a Dragon game takes infinite wealth to its literal sense. It's a haven of non-stop fun that only gets better the more you play it. Apart from its dramatic story, the brunt of Infinite Wealth is all about exploring Hawaii and goofing around in the city's variety of mini-games. It's a melting pot of gaming genres. If you want Pokemon, you get Pokemon. Animal Crossing, you get it too. This 2022 edition continues to stimulate what it feels to manage a football team. While this may not be a huge improvement compared to its 2024 counterpart, FM 2022 introduced the Data Hub, which gives players more information about match momentum. A cute and lighthearted puzzle game about creating art. The zen-like feeling and coloring in its landscapes challenges us to test the limits of our imagination. Once the colors are laid bare, Chicory shines and gives each brush stroke a weight that makes one appreciate life's wonder. It's pretty philosophical for a game with a little anthropomorphic dog as a character.
Who's there?
Assemble your crew of undead pirates in the stealth/strategy game. Instead of epic pirate battles, you outsmart your enemies by stealing their precious treasures in spectral heists. Leading your team of ghosts feels like unleashing Davy Jones' locker. With the power of your ghost ship, you can manipulate the world around you to gain advantage. Lead a ragtag band of unlikely heroes and heroines in the Wild West. Similar to Shadow Gambit, it's a strategy game that requires you to outsmart your enemies. Using its wide array of infiltration abilities will get the job done, but the best part of Desperados 3 is when you get to blow stuff up the cowboy way.
Now's the time. Let's catch a few bandits.
One of the earliest forms of the roguelike genre, Spelunky opened the doors to frustrating and challenging platformers that require patience. Everything about this game is designed to kill you, and the best way to survive is to master its tricky mechanics and controls. If you think this game is hard, wait till you try its sequel.
We have been expecting you.
After being stuck in the PS Vita's library for 12 years, everyone can finally play it again. There are just too many memories packed into this quaint little town of Alba. Persona 4 Golden is the best way to experience Atlas award-winning JRPG. It's a timeless story about making friends and taking down mythological gods. Now it's improved with this PC port. Dave the Diver's culinary quest takes us into an addictive RPG about his budding seafood business. The constant to and fro between gathering resources and managing your restaurant is a fantastic gameplay loop that only gets better the longer you play.
The time is right.
Let 'em have it, fellas.
The remake of the classic PlayStation 2 JRPG, like Persona 4 Golden, Reload is the definitive experience of this Persona entry. Not only does it have better turn-based combat and visuals, it also includes new remixes for its iconic soundtrack. You'll be jamming to its new music while dealing with shadows. It's another timeless Persona entry, and here's hoping we get the Answer DLC soon.
Mission complete.
Sequel to Moon Studios' Metroidvania. Considered one of the best PC games in the modern era, The Will of the Wisps makes the platforming adventure even better with new movement and combat options. Ori's new journey across this uncharted land offers many dangers and surprises. This psychological horror game is not for the faint of heart. Slay the Princess visual novel setup has a perfectly unique stylus scaring the crap out of us. Like Doki Doki Literature Club, it's a twisted game that preys on our fears. There's no point trying to romance this character. You can't fix her.
Hang in there, Ashley. I'm coming for you.
Considered the best of all modern RE titles, 4 is an essential RE experience that completely changes the way Capcom does its remakes. It is visually impressive while at the same time retaining most of what makes 4 work. It's a combination of campy horror and action in one jam-packed entry.
See ya.
According to the creator, this is a game by freaks for freaks. It is a speedrunner's wet dream. Neon White delights in its fluid movement and responsive controls, encouraging players to improve their runs by maximizing their abilities. It's far from complex. Anyone can try this game out, but only a master can climb its leaderboards.
Power. This weapon, any weapon, comes from here.
Sony's hulking poster boy finally made its way to mouse and keyboards. God of War is Kratos' first journey into Nordic territory. It's a great way for PC players to start their God of War adventure. Like all of Sony's PC ports, this one has a selection of graphical tools for players to experience the game in whatever settings they prefer.
I command thee now.
Once again, From Software has elevated the video game industry with Elden Ring. It is the ultimate soul-like package that everyone can enjoy. Its open world is rife with stuff to do, some dangerous and some breathtaking. Sure, it's a challenging feat to become the Elden Lord, but there's more to this game than just dying again and again. We can't wait for the DLC.
May we meet again.
Well, time to go get killed again.
Zagreus' endless escape from the underworld takes the 3rd spot in this list. Hades is Supergiant's acclaimed roguelike, and its procedurally generated version of hell only gets better the more you die. It's backed by a cast of well-written Greek mythology characters and a robust combat system. Valve's first foray into VR territory, and it's considered one of the best games on the market. Alyx's adventure takes place 5 years before Half-Life 2, and it's a nostalgic return to the game's familiar city. Sadly, not everyone has VR gear, but if you have the extra money, Alyx is a worthwhile title to get the gear for.
I must finish what I started. Death's design will be complete.
Of course, it's Baldur's Gate 3. What else could it be? Larian Studios' multi-award-winning RPG broke record after record. It's a testament to how these passionate developers never gave up on their strong community. But BG3 did open the floodgates of content-rich video games without risking the trust of its loyal fans. This massive fantasy world is home to over 100 hours of unique stories that big companies couldn't put out themselves without infesting it with their greed.